Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Myself Parray Raimz, and currently I am working as a teacher at Maria Memorial Institute, Panditpura. How are you all? I hope that you all are fine. Today I am here going to present my first online class for the students of class 8th, and the name of the chapter is cell structure and its function. In this chapter we will study about cell, the parts of the cell, and the role played by these parts in the working of a cell. In this chapter, we will cover topics like cell, its discovery, cell shape and size, cell numbers, basic structure of the cell, cell organelles, and at last we will see what is the difference between plant cell and an animal cell. So, all of us have seen many small plants like rose plant, marigold, tomato plant. We also have seen trees like apple tree, mango tree, and many more. We also have seen animals like cow, horse, dog, sheep, also small insects like butterflies, centipedes, spiders, and many more. In fact, there is large variety of these living organisms, plants as well as animals around us. All these living organisms vary in their shape, size, food habits, habitat, etc. In spite of great variations in their shape, size, food habits, habitat, all these living organisms have a basic similarity among them. That is, all the living organisms are made up of small units that we call as cells. So all living organisms are made up of many organ systems, and these organ systems are made up of organs are made up of tissues, and tissues are made up of cells. So firstly we will see what these cells are. The study of cell is called as or known as cytology. Cells are the building blocks of all the living organisms. These cells are the building blocks of all the living organisms. If you have to define the cell, you can define the cell. Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Cell is the structural, as it gives a particular structure to an organism, and also functional, and also makes it functional. All the life functions are carried out inside the cells. If we will compare, firstly, all basic chemical and physiological functions in living organisms are carried out inside the cell. All basic chemical and physiological functions in living organisms like movement, repairment, growth, digestion, communication, etc. All these life functions are carried out inside the cells. So, for better understanding, if we will compare these cells with bricks, as you might have seen a wall made up of bricks, as you might have seen a building made up of these bricks. In a building, in a wall, you can see the cells are assembled in a way that it gives a structure, it makes a wall. Similarly, in the same fashion, cells of an organism are assembled in a way that it gives a particular structure to an organism. Although these bricks are non-living things, while as cells are the living units. So being a living thing, these cells require energy. So why do they get their energy? How these cells get their energy? You are right, you might have heard a number of times about cellular respiration. It is the process of cellular respiration by which these cells obtain their energy. the food or the glucose is broken down inside the cell in cellular respiration, and energy is released. So that energy is used by the cell. So similar type of cells combine together, they make tissues. When many tissues combine together, it makes an organ, and many organs combine together, it makes an organ system. And when all the organs of a body are formed, it makes an organism. An organism can be of many organ systems. It can be also a single cell without any organ system. So now we will see discovery of the cell. So cells were discovered for the first time, Robert Hooke. You might have heard a number of times about Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke was the first person for the first time who discovered the cell in 1665. How did he discover the cell? Robert Hooke took the slice of cork, which is a part of a bark of a tree. He took the slice of cork and observed this slice of cork under his primitive microscope. When he observed the slice of cork under his primitive microscope, he saw some small compartments or partitioned boxes on the slice of cork. As you can take the example of honeycomb. If you look at the structure of honeycomb, you can see there's some small compartments. Honeycomb is made up of small compartments. So similarly, he saw similar type of compartments on the slice of cork. Robert Hooke thought of these compartments or these partitioned boxes as little rooms. Later on, he termed them as cells. Actually, these cells were the little rooms where prisoners were locked up, or these cells were the rooms where monks and nuns used to sleep. So the cells which were discovered by Robert Hooke were dead in nature and were empty without any cell organelle. So cells were present. One more thing, cells were present since from the origin of life. So cells were present in every organism since from its origin. So before 17th century, due to the small size of these cells were not known to us. So due to their small size. And after 17th century, with the advancement in the technology or with the invention of microscope by Anton van Leeuwenhoek, we were able to see those small cells. Majority of the cells are too small to be seen with the unaided eye. Now shape and size. Cells exhibit variety of shapes and sizes. These cells have different shapes and different sizes. If you look at the shape of the different cells, if you look at the shape, some cells are spindle-like. Take the example of smooth muscle fiber or muscle cells, which are spindle-like. And what do you mean by spindle-like? Spindle-like structure is pointed at ends and wider at the middle. Some cells are disc-like. Take the example of red blood cells. Some cells are branched. Take the example of nerve cells. Some cells are elongated. Some cells are round. Some cells are regular. Some cells are irregular. So these cells have different shapes, and the shape and size, it depends upon the shape of the cell, depends upon the function of the cell, as different cells have to perform different types of functions. For example, the job of red blood cells is to carry oxygen to all the parts of the body. Similarly, if you take the example of nerve cells, what is the job of nerve cells? These nerve cells help us in communication. The job of these nerve cells is to transmit signals to various body parts and glands which are controlled by the brain. And if you take the example of muscle cells, which are spindle-like, the job of these muscle cells is to help in contraction. Without these muscle cells, we will not be able to walk. So this is the shape of different cells. If you look at the size, cells also vary in their sizes. The smallest cell being the mycoplasma, which is a bacterial cell, it is the smallest cell, and its diameter is 0.1 to 0.1 meter to 0.5 micrometers, while as the largest cell is the egg of an ostrich, and its size can be its length can be up to 17 centimeters, and its diameter can be up to 13 centimeters. If you take the example of human body, in human body, some RBCs, or red blood cells, are smallest. And in case of human body, it is the nerve cell, which is the largest, which is considered as largest cell in human body. So these cells vary in their shapes and sizes. So this was all about for today. We discussed cell, it is discovery, cell shape and size. In next class, we will continue this chapter and will study about cell numbers, basic structure of the cell organelles, and at last we will see what is the difference between plant cell and an animal cell. Till then, it's goodbye and take care of yourself and of your loved ones. Thank you.